Welcome to the Messengers. It is July 2nd, 2026. It is the hour of Saturn on the day of Saturn. And we're going to be talking about Mars and Uranus today. But first, we're going to start with a prayer to our patron planet, Mercury. Praise be upon you, Mercury, the master, the virtuous, the honest, the smart, the articulate, the understanding, the debater, the knowledgeable with all arts, the cautious, the writer with good manners, knowledgeable with all matters above and below, the honorable master, the useful for money, the useful for trade, the cunning, the intelligent, the helper, the patient, the skillful. I also call you with your names in Arabic Utard, in Persian Tir, in Roman Harus, in Greek Harmos, in Indian Bada. I ask you in the name of your divine power, grant me the swiftness and flexibility of both body and mind. Teach us your manifold arts and reveal the font of divine intelligence from which they spring.
I like that.
And that one is in honor of Austin Coppock. That's
Okay.
from his course at Fundamentals of Astrology, and people should check that out because it's basically like a lot of the foundation of my knowledge came from Austin
Nice.
Coppock, and he's a fantastic teacher.
And he's living.
Yes,
Nice. You like
he's one
that?
of my living teachers. He's
Yeah.
one of
Well,
my
a
living
lot of them
teachers.
aren't, Devin. I mean, the reality is, as we go along in these processes, so many of our teachers have passed. And so when there's an opportunity to be able to go and listen and learn from a living being, do it. Take
Yeah,
advantage. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And when you're studying astrology, and especially if you're studying the roots or the foundational texts of astrology, like those teachers feel very alive. It's actually kind of funny when when I'm communing with other astrologers who work with these ancient texts, they'll comment about like how is it possible that some dead dude from the fourth century can read me like a book?
Yeah, well, I think it's that it's the lineage that we talk about.
Hmm.
It's the knowledge. We are just the culmination of all of that knowledge, and it's just been
Yeah.
building on each other and building on each other. And yes, in so many ways, we may have veered off course and just built a consumerist, materialist society because naturally we build towards comfort. We now. Me and you are living the lives of pharaohs with like dozens of slaves with the ability to take care of ourselves and to do all the things that we do and having the temperature regulation and having just the overall ability to travel at speed, to be communicating digitally and recording it. And so we just kind of have been using the culmination of that knowledge currently towards a lot of comfort. That doesn't mean that we don't have the ability to start using it for greater overall love and enlightenment of society, because that's really what the other offshoot is.
Oh
It's
yeah,
fascinating. It's
absolutely.
fascinating. So we're here today because we have to get this in before a passing that's occurring and a when before a when. And that when is coming up, and so we want to make sure that even though we have travel plans, we get to touch on it. And it is Uranus and
Mars
Mars.
in Gemini.
Mars is in Uranus.
Yes, that's the name of this episode. Mars is in Uranus. And um yeah, and but just to make sure that the language is clear,
Hmm.
because you often see this a lot online in online discourse. The signs are always the addresses, and you'll hear me repeat that a lot. Because what
The neighborhood
people
you're in.
will often say, huh?
The neighborhood maybe because there's a lot of
Yeah, the
addresses
neighborhood, the
inside of,
house.
because I mean there's so many degree markers as you're going, and so like
Hmm.
they're there for a while but they're in that borough. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a neighborhood. That's another great way to say it. They're also in a time period, but there's a nature and an essence. So yeah, I think neighborhood's a good description. I often like to think of it as like, well, the ancient Greek text talks about the signs as estates,
Okay.
and so
Good
like
word.
inside of the estate, you have different rooms and houses and different places where, you've got the servants' quarters, you've got the main room, you've got the library, things of that nature. I've always liked to address the signs as schools, where we learn specific structures of how to see existence. You learn about fire from Aries, you learn about water from Cancer, so forth and
Okay.
so on, with different teachers that have different temperaments. You know, Saturn as a teacher is a lot different than Mercury as a teacher. But what I'm trying to clear up specifically is that you'll hear or you'll see on social media or read on social media people saying things like my Aries is in Jupiter. And that's just like the reverse of all of the logic.
Yeah,
Like
your
the,
Jupiter is in Aries. Your Jupiter is
yeah,
currently in
exactly.
the building or is in the estate or in the where.
Or the
And so
neighborhood, or
I
yeah.
I just kind of want to take a note, and we'll continually do this, but it's difficult to relate the when to the where, right? And as our experience unfolds here, we tend to be three-dimensional. We work inside of our environment, and so we're using the where to describe what's happening with the astrology, but really what we're referencing is when. Because it's
Mhm.
kind of a snapshot, and we're using the where, like the estate and the address, like you just mentioned, really to make an understanding, between what's happening. But when people hear it, just know that we're really talking about a when, because the
Mhm.
the wheres change constantly inside there. There's no way to positionally say this is the exact same thing. It's just a snapshot of what's occurring in that moment. And so in this when did the period begin, commence, and what is the closing period for this transition that is occurring of Mars and Uranus coming into Gemini?
Yeah, so I would say that their alignment uh for this specific week that we're talking about came into fruition around Sunday night, Monday morning, right around the same time as the full
The
moon
full
was
moon.
was
I
uh,
I saw the
coming to
moon.
fruition.
I saw the moon last night out on the lake, and it was just so beautiful, man. It was yellow and glowing above the trees, and just had a really lovely moment of giving some respect out to the moon. How was the full moon?
Oh, my full moon experience was fantastic. I really had a really nice communion with Celine, and yeah, she gave me some insights, and I switched main tarot decks unexpectedly. That's a pretty fundamental piece of my spiritual routine and stuff like that is my daily tarot practice, and I've been using the same tarot deck for about 2 years now. And she really motivated me to switch tarot decks, and I got a new one, and I wasn't expecting to do that. But I'm excited about it. It's going to be a fun new journey. It's called the Divine Tarot, and the thing I really loved about using the Journey of Oz and Wonderland tarot that I've been using for a while is that these two rich stories that pull out a lot of really
You're
interesting archetypes.
you're a storyteller, yeah. You like the storytelling aspect of them.
Yeah, and so that to continue with that theme, this new tarot deck that I uh purchased from this artist that I've actually been admiring for a long time. Um, every card is from a folk tale from a culture on the planet. And so you have
Now you get to learn
78 different
all of them.
folk tales. It's great. It's a
See,
really broad
Devon needs
perspective.
things to occupy his moments, and history is one thing that occupies a lot of his moments. So, getting to learn 78 traditional folk tales is like a perfect side quest for you to be doing as you're going along.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And a great way to like, broaden the way that I talk about just everything, the tarot, the astrology, everything. It'll help like
Yeah.
broaden my perspective.
And so I have a question. You said fruition, and to me, fruition means that we're done. So when discussing I'm assuming it's a conjunction between Uranus and Mars, correct?
Hmm.
And a conjunction is a blending from us talking about. So those two energies will be blended for a period. How long does this conjunction going to last for?
The conjunction itself will be pretty brief. I think it only lasts for maybe 24 to 36 hours. But
So so
but
pause then.
the
Oh, continue.
no,
Continue.
no, no. But one of the things that I'm going to bring up as far as like historical references to this is that the energies present together, uh, a lot of human activity doesn't happen just within a 36-hour window. And so they've been building up together for a while.
Hmm.
And when I use the word come to fruition, I was thinking more about from a cultural perspective of the astrological community. We've been anticipating this Mars moving into Gemini with Uranus for a while. So that's the fruition point, is that
Okay.
we've finally arrived at the moment.
Sure. To me, when I heard fruition, I was assuming it was that 24 to 36-hour conjunction when the actual astrological alignment was occurring. Has that occurred already, or are we pending that now?
No, that's going to happen early Saturday morning,
Okay, so that's what we're really
is when the
discussing.
actual
Yeah.
conjunction takes
Is
place.
so
Yeah,
the actual conjunction is going to begin on Saturday in the rising, which is our 4th of July, which is the
exactly.
250th anniversary of this country that we live in, this beautiful country in many ways. It's allowing us to be here talking on the internet with each other. And also, the White House is going to be doing the very large celebration for that, and a few other things. And so, where would you like to start with it? Would you like to just talk about what Uranus and Mars's conjunction signifies?
Well, so Uranus and uh well, just to talk about Uranus a little bit first, the naming of Uranus came about uh very scatteredly. Like the person who discovered it wanted, and this was during the 1770s, is when Uranus was discovered, and the astronomer who discovered it wanted to name it after King George, so it was almost going to be the planet was almost going to be named George for a while. And then the astronomy community almost named it after Herschel, who was the astronomer who discovered it. And yeah, the so and then eventually they decided to just continue on with the traditional like god names, and then just chose Oronos, uh which is basically Saturn's dad, because in the lineage of the series of Roman and Greek mythology, Saturn castrates Uranus in order to take over the land of the gods before Jupiter overthrows Saturn
So
later
that's
on.
why Uranus. It's actually funny. I'm looking right now. I googled the name as you were chatting about it, and I didn't. Is that actually how it's pronounced? So it's
Well,
Uranus, Uranus, not
it
Uranus.
depends on who's talking. Yeah, it's Uranus is the way that most people say it, and then
One
childish
hundred percent.
people say Uranus.
So
And
to jump, yeah, I got it. That's me. To jump back, we're talking about 1781, 17. When was this founded?
yeah, around the 1770s. Yeah.
Okay, around the 1770s. So a lot of people don't even know that you're this is a new astrological player, because yes, we understand that it's fascinating on an astronomy level that we didn't know it was there, but if you're talking about these lineages that are tracking the custodians of our stars, it's a really big surprise that there's one there that we did not know the entire time. And so that changes a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, especially since uh the interesting thing too about Uranus is that it is actually visible to the naked eye, but only when it's in Gemini. And
How often is
and
that?
not very it's only once every 84 years.
Once every 84 years. So once every 84 years, somebody sees a new light in the sky
Yeah. And it
for
was
a
only
small window.
through the invention of telescopes is and glass lenses is the only reason why it became something that we could continuously track. And that's what
So,
was happening around the 1770s.
but with the mythology of it being the father who was castrated and cast to the side, it would make sense that they were kind of deeming it as the unknown ruler who was in the background of the sun who was ruling it, because Jupiter is in many ways seen as the ruler, or Saturn is seen as the ruler for us.
Saturn's seen as the most outer planet,
Outer.
and And yeah, it depends on which set of cultural lenses you're looking through. Because basically, because Saturn is so dim and slow, it actually took a while for the Babylonians to recognize Saturn. So they only knew of Jupiter, who which they named Marduk, back in their time. So back in
Okay.
like 2500 BCE. But what we've found, and especially credited to the astrologer Richard Tarnas, who wrote the book The Great Awakener, Prometheus the Great Awakener. The way we actually see Uranus act in astrology is through this stealing of the fire, inspiration, Great Awakener, bringing divine inspiration down to humanity. Whereas like the sky god of Uranus doesn't really have those types of qualities, but so we kind of see Uranus as this Promethean figure, this
Okay.
divine inspiration.
Okay. Okay.
And so
So
I just wanted to go through that history to like give an understanding of like, you know, Uranus can be seen by the naked eye, but it's at random times, right? And
yes.
it's so there's this like general sense. It's also associated with like lightning or just flashes of inspiration.
Okay. So continue on. So we have Uranus and Mars coming together in Gemini.
Yeah, and then Mars is our classic war god. He's seen as blood and war in most cultures across culturally across the planet, uh, regardless if they're in Europe or not. Um, and uh, and so we associate Mars with blood and fire and warfare and violence and just conflict in general. But like those, once again, that's the lens of like the harshest things I could say. And then Mars also rules like the knives in your kitchen that you use for cutting up
Cooking.
vegetables and cooking, and yeah, and
It's
also like
necessary to have those
combustion
energies.
engines.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. We can't live without those energies. It's just how are they being used?
Yeah, how are they being used? Yeah, exactly. And so you have this divine inspiration, this lightning strike of moments, coming together with this planet that's associated with conflict and fire, and in a sign that has a lot of stories associated with uh, uh, basically brothers or twins where one dies.
Mhm.
Gemini holds the story of Cain and Abel. Gemini holds the story of Castor and Pollux, where the the immortal twin, and then there's the mortal twin who passes away.
Mhm.
Um, and oftentimes, Gemini people have a lot of thoughts that they have to filter through, and like and can be a tumultuous place inside of their brains. I just want to say give a lot more slack to Geminis because they've gone through a lot in their head that you don't see in the foreground.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay, so they're coming around. So Uranus is here only once every 84 years. How often is Mars inside of Gemini? I mean, I'm assuming it's a more frequent pattern.
yeah, it's a more frequent pattern. It does the zodiac in roughly 2 years. Takes about
Okay.
2 years for it to do the whole zodiac.
So
Um,
how often do these two line up together?
well, they line in Gemini. They'll only line up for 7 years every 84 years.
They'll line up
But
7 years for every 84 years.
yeah. So they'll, but because of Mars retrograde cycle, they'll probably only make three, maybe four actual conjunctions in Gemini
Throughout
uh,
those 7 years.
throughout that 7 year process because like next year, at the beginning of next year, Mars is going to stall out and retrograde in Leo. So he'll spend a good amount of time in Leo before continuing moving on, and then won't get back
Which
to
is
Gemini for a
interesting
while.
when we look at Trump's chart in regards to next year. But anyway,
Yeah.
we'll continue on with what we're talking about today. So we have these two planets coming together in a conjunction to begin on Saturday in the rising, early in the day. That is July 4th, 2026, is what we're discussing right now. A conjunction is a blending of energies, and this only happens every so often. So, what is to be expected, or why is it so important that we're here talking about it?
Yeah, we really just wanted to capture and record this moment because um Mars and Uranus and Gemini together is a signature that the Sibley chart has, the chart, and that's the name of the astrologer who helped us define what the United States' chart is. That's why it's named the Sibley chart.
So, the Sibley
Um,
chart is the United States chart as a country.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so this Mars and Uranus return, um, every 84 years has had important, significant implications on the direction the direction of the country and how we deal with like major conflicts, which has been on a broadening level every time. And then the other thing that's interesting in my own personal research about this is that this is the first Mars Uranus return that the United Nations also has in its birth chart. Uh, so that's considering the scale of different kinds of conflicts that are happening across the global geopolitical spectrum right now. It's a good test for the UN itself,
And so,
considering the past.
to reference, we were World War II and Civil War the last two moments this happened.
Yeah, I mean, so the Sibley chart is July 4th, 1776. So the
Mhm.
first thing is the Revolutionary War.
How many Saturn
Uh,
returns has the United States been through?
let's see. Well, 250 divided by 30, so
A lot. Okay,
uh,
like eight. Continue.
eight.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah,
Revolutionary War to
the
begin.
Revolutionary War, 1776, and then the Civil War, specifically the Battle of Sumter Fort, I believe is what it was called. Um, is the Civil War event that Mars and Uranus kind of like really signified. And
Sumter Forest? No.
no, Fort Sumter. Yeah, Fort Sumter, Charleston, South Carolina, April 12th, 1861. So an interesting thing about this is that the Confederate artillery opened fire and besieged the U.S. garrison for 34 hours straight of bombardment. And so that's what historians mark as like the beginning of the Civil War, and that
Is
had
it?
Mars and
Is it?
Uranus and
Well,
Gemini.
didn't you say it's like 24 to 36 hours? Like, did it like click
Yeah.
off and that they just started bombing them for 36 hours? Like, we're done. Good job, guys. Go home.
Well, the alignment between Mars and Uranus wasn't perfect, but they were moving towards each other, and that's what one of the things that makes July 4th this year kind of like interesting. And then the other thing, so then we move to World War II, and we have, the U.S. entering World War II. World War II had been going on, but the U.S.'s involvement directly in the conflict was when Mars and Uranus came together in Gemini. But the thing that's the most like striking of this Mars Uranus signature is also Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Um, so just like really big explosive things.
Yeah.
And this isn't me trying to say that like July 4th is going to be this huge giant explosion. But the funny thing
Well,
is,
it kind of is because of the fireworks. Yeah.
yeah, the funny thing is that the current administration has planned for a gigantic, the biggest possible fireworks display they could do. Um, and I looked up the chart, and Mars and Uranus are have come together. Mars is separating from Uranus at the moment that the fireworks display is supposed to be starting at
Okay.
10:30 p.m. Eastern. And but it's at the um lowest point of the chart. It's conjunct the IC. The
Okay.
IC is the basically the place where the midnight sun happens.
Hmm.
And we look at the IC as the bottom of the chart, the foundational heritage point of any chart. Like if you're looking for family history or what somebody wants to be known for after they pass, like you look at the IC.
Okay.
And so that Mars Uranus conjunction is completely conjunct the IC of Washington D.C. at 10:30 p.m. on Saturday, July
They want to
4th.
be known for a giant fireworks show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean it's the most like
Can we talk
fireworks at home,
eight?
explosions at home. It's like the most that's the most home
I guess,
point of
yeah. I
the
didn't even
whole
think about that.
chart.
The home of the U.S. is Washington D.C., and then it's literally exploding. I didn't think about that. Yeah, they're doing 850,000 fireworks from ten sites.
Wow.
Aren't we broke? Why are we doing this? I feel like this is when
Oh,
Dad went out and spent a bunch of money on stuff, and you're like, Dad, don't you need a job? Like, what are we doing right now? Why are we spending money on this?
yeah.
We're going
Or
to have
like
a party.
or I don't know what your experience was like in 2020, but in Portland in 2020, you could tell that a lot of people had spent their government checks on fireworks because
No.
it was a bombardment. Like people just illegal fireworks everywhere. It went
We
on
used to
for
do that.
hours and
So
hours and hours.
we used to, when I lived in Southern California, we used to, I didn't, but I used to buy them. My friends would drive out to Las Vegas and buy like U-Haul trucks full of Disneyland boomers, like the giant fireworks, because Vegas wasn't that far away. And then they would sell them off on 4th of July, and we would just be having a blast. I mean, we would be setting off car alarms for streets, just shooting those things off. But that wasn't 2020. Okay, so other than, I mean, yes, it's fun. I love this. I love the conjunction of literally exploding at home, of the IC point, to see empirically really what's going on inside of the charts. Is there other stuff to be on the lookout for this? Is there stuff occurring in the news? I'm not really up to date on what's happening nationally, but has there been any major movements towards further war or accelerations?
Well, there's a lot of dispute going on about whether or not the Iran and the U.S. and the Strait of Hormuz is actually going to be settled or not. Um, there's a lot of talk around it being settled from some of the US pundits, but then Iran being like, no, that's not how this is going at all. So there's a lot of confusion there. There's a lot of reports out of Russia with the Russia Ukraine conflict that Russia's running out of money and there's actually like Russians like vacation like trying to vacation around Ukraine and stuff like that, and then like ending up in crossfire. And so there's this reality that like maybe Russians as a people are becoming aware that the conflict is not going the way that they're being told it's going. This is interesting because of the confusion that comes with the Saturn Neptune conjunction that's also happening, or co presence, I should say, that's ongoing for the next year and a half from now in Aries, one of Mars's signs. And so Saturn is about rules and limitations and structure, and Neptune is about dissolving those things. And so, and also like kind of is this planet of like smoke screens. Um, I like to think of social media and social media algorithms when I think about Neptune as well, because when Neptune moved into Pisces is when Facebook went public, and then this whole like concept of social media being this thing that we're all like really engaging with and is natural and organic like became this more like behind the scenes like structured algorithmic thing.
Mhm.
And so that's interesting. But the thing that's really different between there's a lot of things that are different between this Mars Uranus conjunction and previous ones, but one of the things that I found that was interesting was that there's this trine now between Saturn and Neptune and Jupiter and Leo. And that's not a normal thing. The trine from Aries, Saturn in Aries to Jupiter in Leo only happens every 60 years. And so it's one of these like cycles that's like
Hmm.
coming together. The last one was in 1968 for just 1 year. And that's the thing is these are really brief periods on the grand scale. They only last for a year every 60 years. And in 1968 was a really pivotal year for things like civil rights
Hmm.
and restructuring how we do things around that sort of nature. And so yeah, I'm just curious to see how this Mars Uranus conjunction is going to be being influenced by that by those uh other alignments because they're creating a because Jupiter and Saturn can witness, they're both making sextiles to the Mars Uranus conjunction. So it may, I mean, it might ease it. It might make it less about like major conflict and more about positive change when
Like that.
we saw some interesting Supreme Court upholds just briefly around the time when Jupiter was leaving Cancer and entering Leo, upholding birthright citizenship, which was on the docket to be possibly um, dissolved by the Supreme Court, but they ended up upholding it. So there's some other interesting ties. So
On a personal level with these things, I mean, yes, we're talking about large scale, we're talking about the United States and things like that. But on a personal level, should I be looking out for conflict going on inside of my personal environment? Not to say, it's going to be constant, but would that be an uptick to be expected?
yeah, I would Mars and Uranus coming together is, it happens every 2 years, regardless of what sign Uranus is transiting through. But it's definitely a time to be careful with conflict, to not try to solve every issue as quickly as possible. Let things breathe. If conflict does arise, especially like in charts like ours that are Libra rising, so our seventh house of like personal relationships is governed by Mars, and because Libra risings have Aries seventh houses.
Definitely been noticing a lot of conflict in my personal life that wasn't created by anything. It's just kind of like these tension points that are occurring. And so I could
Hmm.
definitely speak to that on a personal level. But I see that a lot of it's just, yeah, you just have to wait and see currently. A lot of them are, there's no direct conflict. It's just kind of like these frictions that I've noticed kind of building up.
Yeah, and it's important to just give them time to breathe because especially with Mercury being retrograde right now, being careful with our words and the way that we communicate, being careful with how we receive the emotional reaction to the things people say, since
Mm-hmm.
Mercury is in Cancer, a water sign of emotions governed by the moon. Um, if we allow ourselves to fly off the handle, then we can definitely make things worse than we intend to. Uh, but in it without it being this like cautionary tale, um, you can also like give in to adventure.
Mm-hmm.
um give in to doing something fresh, doing something new, take a chance. I One of the things that came out of this full moon for me wasn't, and so we're talking about once again Libra rising, and Gemini is the ninth house of long distance travel. One of the things that came out to me was I was randomly gifted a plane ticket to go up to see my grandmother in Seattle that I wasn't expecting. So you have that
Mm-hmm.
unexpectedness of Uranus, and
I have two unexpected trips that came up that I'm heading out on, and other planned ones, but I'm traveling like the whole moon. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like I'm just gone. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So unexpected arrivals and travel, like that's really great for Libra. I don't I'm not prepared to do the whole zodiac in that sense, but
No, I
uh
was asking.
no, I'm just letting the listeners know that that's not what they should be expecting right
I'm not
now.
doing the whole thing right now. Hit me up, devonmalone.com, right? Isn't it? What was your
It's
.com?
Selene'sGateway.com. Yeah.
Selene'sGateway.com. Can we make
Yeah.
one that's also Devon.com? Can we just make Devon.com? Rev Dev. But yeah, if you go online, you can go and you can get a reading and be able to get more concept of what exactly is going on in your chart. As we continue chatting about things, you're going to get teasers and references because we're Libra rising, and so you're just going to get the same viewpoint on the little personal points. But there's always an opportunity to get more understanding, and you just have to reach out and begin kind of taking the journey for yourself.
Yeah, and you
So
can hit me up on Instagram and social media, esoteric.butcher.com, or the esoteric butcher on Instagram, or threads is my social media handle. And but and we will do horoscope type stuff, but we just kind of jumped both feet full in, and this is also our house of publishing and like communication and stuff like that. And Ezekiel it became aware after our first recording. He was like, oh, this is really like time sensitive stuff. Like these things
yeah,
like happen and then stop. And
it's
he
happening.
became
It's
aware.
why I was
Yeah.
specifying so much that we're really talking about a when, and
Yeah.
it's going to be nice because we're putting out a lot of content, but we're really talking about something that's occurring right now. And so it's important that we do it quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And not I definitely want to maybe we can come up with a hashtag or something for the listeners too, because like I would really like to hear people's reactions to the astrology. I would really like to hear your stories. I'd really like to hear your reflections because
Synchronicities.
as yeah, synchronicities, because astrology is built on observation. Astrology is built on thousands of years of collective like working together and observing people's lives. It's not intended to be something that like I dictate to you. Like it's something that we're supposed to like learn from each other. Like you like us both expressing and sharing that we both have like these trip signatures coming up, and
Mm.
this signature is happening in our ninth house of travel. That's an example of confirming what the astrology says,
It's fun, and so for people too, it's always interesting to me because I don't try to hold on to things too much on what it is, but I had two weekend blocks open, and I very intuitively booked trips for me and the girls where I already was gone. I just like felt called one day early in the day to kind of book out some trips, and so for whatever it was just a normal, natural thing that I do booking trips. But it's fascinating when you see the conjunction of what's going on in the planets and where some of these motivations can come from. And it's still up to us whether we follow the motivations or not, and what we want to do. It is fascinating. So I agree. If you're listening along, feel free to drop in anything that we're saying that resonates. We would love to hear what it is that you have to say.
Yeah, maybe yeah, we can work on some hashtag ideas,
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
but for now you can email me at esoteric.butcher@gmail
And
dot
you also
com.
can email on all of our pages is the messengers at Gmail for a contact. And so you
Oh
can
yeah.
email us directly as well there.
And then subject line maybe just put um
Flip flop sandals.
flip-flop sandals. No, actually, you know what? That's great. I don't even know if you meant to do that. Did you mean to do that?
What? No.
So are you familiar with the myth of Hermes and the cattle and Apollo?
No.
So
I don't mean to do many things, Devin.
yeah, so no, this is so great though, because like in the story of Hermes's birth into the world,
Who is
uh
Mercury, correct?
who is Mercury?
Our non-binary divinity.
Yeah, our non-binary divinity.
Yep.
Oh, Kristen Mathis. I hope y'all check out Kristen Mathis's work.
I'm just
Anyway,
saying, I like it. I'll claim it. I like it.
yeah. Um, Mercury is born to the goddess Maya, and on his first day of birth, he steals his brother's Apollo's cattle and hides
First
them.
day, day one.
First day, day one.
Is even
Uh,
I thought you were supposed to be on the boob just hanging out day one. Like you're not,
no,
you
not
know,
Mercury.
stealing
Not
cattle. Okay.
Hermes. It's stealing cattle. He steals Apollo's cattle. He hides them. He gets caught. Apollo brings him up to a trial for with Zeus, with Jupiter, and Jupiter and Mercury apologizes. Jupiter's like, "All right," and then Mercury invents music. He invents the lyre specifically, the turtle shell lyre, and uh, and exchanges it to Apollo for the gift of divination and astrology.
Okay.
But the detail, the reason
Okay.
why the flip flops came out and why it grabbed me is because what he does, and part of this story is describing Mercury retrograde. What he does is he purposefully puts his flip flops, his sandals, on backwards to make it look like he's taking the cattle a different way than
Smart.
they're actually going.
Smart
And
man.
so, yeah, so hashtag flip flops to share
Hashtag
your
flip flops.
stories
Yep, for your
to
Mercury
share your
stories.
stories about your astrology stories and
The
anything
buddy
that happens.
Mercury.
And we're not looking.
Is buddy non-binary? Can I call Mercury my buddy? Is that how that
Yeah,
works? All
absolutely.
right, cool. Well,
I think so.
I love Mercury. Um, so
Eh,
continue with what you were saying.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, we're not looking for, I, we're not looking for you to prove us right. Like, I'm not
We're just
asking for
curious.
you to share, like, oh gosh, Devin was so right, like with way he predicted my astrology. Like, no, I just want to hear your stories,
Yeah, it's just fun.
and so if you already speak the astrological language and you see a transit happen and you have a story that reflects it, hashtag flip flops.
Well, yeah, please hashtag flip flops. I have to say, on a personal note, I got a call earlier today from a friend of mine, and their partner, like whole side of their partner's family, was all having extremely weird, unlucky events happening over and over again. One had like a physical injury, another one had a loss, another one had extreme car issues. Now, immediately I held space for just those are real people experiencing real things, and then you go into the fact of, is it Mercury retrograde? Is it the Mars and the Uranus coming in conjunction right now? It's fascinating because it's only one side of the partnership, and their whole thing is all kind of unfolding in this very strange, just strange. I mean, it was like a series of like 7 or 8 events that were just all very asynchronistic. So things like
Yeah,
that.
was that the friend that you showed me the chart of recently?
Nope, no, it was not. No, different
Nope,
person.
completely different person.
Different
Okay,
person,
I was
completely
just
different
curious.
person, unrelated, completely. But things like that is what we're discussing. Synchronicities. We're just
Yeah.
saying like, hey, I saw a bunch of this happening. It's fascinating, and it helps us to have a better concept for observation. Devin, we didn't pull a card today.
Oh no, no, we didn't. Here, let me go ahead and pull a card from my new deck.
No.
So, like, I pulled a card for myself, and like I do every day, and I had that card still sitting out, and I shuffled it back into the deck, and I just had the intention of, like, let's make this card for Saturday. Like, that's what the card was for, is for the conjunction on Saturday. And it was the same card. I
We
got the
pulled the
same
same
card.
card. We got the
I
exact
pulled the
same card.
same card. Yeah.
Did you shuffle?
Yeah, I shuffled it twice or three
You
times. I
shuffled
always
twice.
shuffle it three
Did you
times.
cut it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. What is the card then?
So the card
Can't see
is,
it.
let's see, how about now? Can you see it now?
No. No, just send me
Okay.
a picture later.
Well, yeah, I'll send you a picture later. The card is the Two of Wands.
The two of
And
wands. Okay.
the Two of Wands. Yes, and it the god is Janus or Janus.
Okay.
Uh who is the actually the patron god of what January is named after.
Hmm.
The month January. Um
Okay.
But the idea of Janus in Roman mythology is that it is the god of looking backwards and forwards, the god of retrospection and forward movement, and being able to hold space for where we've been and where we're going.
Mhm.
It's the god of thresholds and doorways and gateways, and was very venerated as this god that, like, basically anytime you move through a doorway, like you are passing through a threshold, through the concept of like uh where you were and where you're going.
That's
And
often.
yeah, well now it is, especially today, yeah, just because
Yeah.
of the amount of doorways that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
mean,
so every time you do that, you're initiating the god Janus. Um, and the Two of Wands, I love that this artist, let me grab their name really quick. I don't want to mispronounce, or I don't want to say it wrong. Um, the deck is by Yoshi Yoshitani.
okay.
And so I love that Yoshi chose this god for the Two of Wands because the Two of Wands is about new beginnings. It's about inspiring starts. It's the first 10 days of Aries season, what we call a
Okay.
decan in astrology. Basically, each sign is divided into three portions called decans.
Okay.
And the two of wands is the first decan of Aries. And so it's associated with the spring equinox. It's associated with the beginning of the in astrology, we consider the equinox as the beginning of the new year for astrology.
Okay.
Um, Aries is considered the first sign and is used in a lot of divination techniques to see how the year is going to go for the kingdom,
Okay.
based on what the chart of the equinox looks like. So we have this like really beginning energy associated with Saturday. So something new might start up. Who knows? And
Something big to write.
also this is the decan that is hosting Neptune right now. And so Neptune might
It's the shadow
become
of that deck.
extremely important about Saturday. And it's interesting that, that I had mentioned Neptune earlier in this
Well, because
conversation about it.
Neptune's currently in a some sort of alignment with Saturn, and so
Yeah,
it's
correct.
that's attempting to dissolve some of the order and the structure that's going on in some way. And then you said that Saturn is also relating over to Jupiter over in Leo, correct? Or was that Uranus
Yes.
that we're at? And so, with Saturn and Jupiter, does that mean in a way Neptune's energy would be affecting Jupiter in Leo because of the conjoining?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely influencing the whole chart. In our chart specifically, in cardinal charts, Neptune's really important for the next 11 years, because it's going to be angular. So if
Mm-hmm.
you,
I have to watch out for Neptune now.
well, not watch out for
I
it.
don't know.
Neptune's a planet of dissolving and dissolution, but also spirituality. And
Well, yeah.
you yourself are a very Neptunian character, because one of the things that I like to say about Neptune is that Neptune is as much the Buddhist trying to dissolve into the everything as is the heroin addict also trying to dissolve into the everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be a very important factor. And Neptune's also associated with gasoline and oil production, the refinement of it,
Isn't that they
because
got discovered around the same time, correct? Same.
yeah, exactly.
It also just to relate over that Madame Vladsky and all that happened last during the Neptune era. Isn't that the last time that Neptune was really powerfully inside of the charts?
Yeah, the so this same thing of the Uranus Mars conjunction in Gemini, Neptune was in Aries during the Civil War, and it was at that same time that Madame Blavatsky
Valowski, that's what it.
was was traveling through Arabia and India and learning all the things that she ended up bringing out in the Theosophical Society and stuff like that.
It's fascinating. If you guys haven't looked up that individual, we won't go into them today, but totally worth looking into at some point.
Yeah, and they are controversial. We're not going to say that we
Oh yeah,
stand behind everything
no,
that they taught and believed or
nope.
did, but they are an extremely influential character on occult society
And
and
fascinating. Yeah,
yeah,
the
and
amount of
fascinating.
information you can learn about what occurred around that individual is mind blowing. And like Devin said, I'm not standing on one side of the fence, but one of my favorite, and I should learn her name and learn some more research. But one of my favorite little tidbits to bring up some moments in conversation because there's just so many fun facts to go on with that era. Well, wonderful. Thank you for the card. That's great. Make sure you send me a picture later on
Yeah,
today.
will do. Yeah.
Do we have anything else to go over before we start closing out for the day? We're going to see each other on Tuesday or next week on one day.
Yeah, we'll do a little reflection on this weekend and last week, and we've got other conversations planned too that aren't so heavily astrology focused, but
Yeah, the I
everything's
know
pretty rambunctious right now, so it was pretty
we're
easy to jump in on this.
setting a baseline. I think that we're going forward. What I feel in a lot of ways is we're going to have one mainly astrology focused podcast per week where we can get people caught up on what's going on inside of the when, and then another one where we're most likely probably just going to be talking. And astrology is obviously going to be involved, but we're just going to have a broader set of conversations. So look out as we go forward. We'll have. Most likely, the astrology conversations will be coming towards the end of the week, and some of the earlier conversations will be coming midweek. And so we hope that you guys listen along.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good to me. And I think yeah, I think we're all set for today. And you know,
I'm looking at tarot decks online.
I'm glad. I will say though that, um I don't want to leave too sugar coated. We are with the major conflicts that have been a part of the Mars Uranus conjunction in Gemini for the US. You know, uh they all had conflicts happening that preceded that period of time. And so
We were
in
already in the conflicts during that time.
yeah, and so we're already seeing that too. So what I would expect if something major does happen in the geopolitical sphere is I wouldn't expect it to be outside of the things that we already know that's happening.
Okay, so it might just be an intensification or it might be a resolution. We don't really know. You know, with some of the players that are going on, we could see some good movement. And it takes us back to once again, I've been trying to get better at it. That we can't really say good or bad for a lot of these things, and that's really a limited lens to put on it. It's more of a signifier of just maybe some energies that are relating with each other or things to look out for.
Yeah, exactly. And because one of the things that's really important too, especially for the personal lived experience, is our co-creative power is strong. We do have a lot of power to co-create our reality, our environment through the power of choice, through our repeated actions, through the way that we view things. And so if you approach astrology with fear, with anticipation of negativity, it's going to be the thing that you're trying that is going to vibrate with you, that's going to resonate with you. It's probably going to be the thing that comes to you the loudest. So,
Mhm.
and that's why the ancient Greeks were, Stoics. Part of the whole thing about being a Greek astrologer is not being pulled by the passions of the stars,
Yeah,
not
just
being pulled and just allowing it to unfold and take it as it will.
wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dev.
Thank you.
We'll catch you on the other side. Thank you, everybody. Be blessed. Look out for some wonderful fireworks and be safe on the 4th. Bye bye.
And as always, may the fire inside guide you.
So it is.